See, 3 years ago, a final year student sent me his Raft foundation drawing for review. Now, 4 columns, different loads, one side of the plot touching the property line. He had done everything by the book. Assumed the thickness, centered the footing under the columns, checked the punching at the worst column. It failed. See, he increased the depth, failed again. This time at a different column, one that was safe before. He spent 2 days chasing a moving target, and the reason is something almost nobody teaches clearly in the classroom. The shape of a raft foundation is not something you assume. It's something you calculate before you even think about the depth. So today I am going to show you why, and I am going to show you the exact sheet I built so you never have to chase that moving target again. Hello everyone, welcome back to Civil Nirman. If you are new here, I break down structural engineering the way I wish someone had broken it down for me. No jargon dumping, just the logic, the code clause, and why it matters. Today's topic: raft and combined footing geometry, and why getting the shape wrong quietly ruins everything that comes after it. Stick around because at the end I will walk you through a real worked out example exactly the way it's solved inside the Excel tool. So here is the misconception every student carries into their first foundation design. I will center the footing under my columns, pick a thickness and check if it's safe. That works if every column carries the same load and nothing restricts how far you can extend the footing. But real projects are rarely that polite. You will have a heavier column next to a lighter one. You will have a property line 8 inches from your last column. You will have 3 columns in a row or a 3x3 grid and loads that are nowhere close to equal. See, the moment that happens, a centered symmetric footing puts the soil pressure exactly where you don't want it. Heavier under the heavy column and lighter under the light one. And that's called eccentricity. And eccentric pressure doesn't just look bad on paper. It can tip past your safe bearing capacity on one side and it lift off the soil entirely on the other. So the real first question in raft design was never how thick. It's where does this footing need to sit and how big does it need to be so the pressure underneath it is something the soil can actually take uniformly or at least safely. And that geometry that comes before the depth, and that's exactly the part almost every textbook glosses over it in one paragraph while spending 20 pages on punching shear. So here is the one idea I want you to walk away with, even if you forget every formula in this video. Every group of column load has a single point where their combined effect acts like a seesaw finding its balance point. See, engineers call it the resultant or the centroid of loads. Now, if your footing own center of gravity lands exactly on that point, the soil pressure comes out uniform. Simple, predictable, easy to design for. See, if it doesn't, and very often a property line wouldn't let it, you get eccentricity. And once you have eccentricity, the pressure under your footing isn't one number anymore. It's a range, higher on one side, lower on the other. In the worst case, negative on one side, which physically means the footing is trying to lift off the ground there. So the real design sequence every single time is: first, find the resultant of the loads. Second, try to size the footing so its centroid lands on the resultant. Third, if a property line wouldn't let you, extend the other side further to compensate. Fourth, if you still can't fully compensate, calculate the eccentric pressure properly and check it against your soil's safe bearing capacity, including the uplift check. And fifth, only then move on to checking whether your assumed depth survives punching shear at every single column, because edge and corner columns behave very differently from the interior ones. Missed step 1 through 4 and step 5 becomes exactly what happened to that student, a depth that passes at one column and fails at another forever because the geometry underneath it was never actually right. Now, here is the part nobody tells you in the college. See, doing this by hand for a real raft with 6 or 9 columns, unequal loads and a property restriction on top of it is brutal. You are solving simultaneous equations for the footings extents. You are computing moment of inertia in 2 directions. You are calculating 4 different corner pressures. You are checking the punching shear separately for interior columns, edge columns and corner columns, because each one has a different critical shear parameter and IS 456 clause 31.6 treats them differently. Then your senior engineer says increase the depth by 50 mm and you get to redo every single one of those calculations by hand again. This is exactly the kind of repetitive error-prone multi-step calculation that a well-built spreadsheet should be doing for you, not to replace your understanding of the code, but so you can spend your mental energy on judgment, not arithmetic calculations. And that's exactly why I built this. So let me show you exactly how this works inside the toolkit. I have 5 layouts covered, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 9 columns laid out as 2x1, 3x1, 2x2, 2x3 and 3x3 grids. Every sheet follows the same flow top to bottom. So here in this sheet, first your inputs, concrete grade, column size, your trial depth, safe bearing capacity, subgrade modular, spacing between columns. Every yellow shell is yours to edit as your input. Right below that, property line restrictions. If a boundary wall genuinely limits how far you can extend the footing on any side, you flag it here and give the fixed distance. Leave it as no if there is no restrictions. See, then column loads, 2 numbers per column, the service load for sizing the footing and checking the bearing capacity, and the factored load for the shear design. That split matters. Using factored load to size against soil bearing capacity would be genuinely unconservative, and it's a mistake I still see in the professional drawings. Now, here is the part that does the real work, the geometry engine. Watch this. It finds the resultant of your column loads automatically, then it solves for exactly how far the footing needs to be extended on each side. So the footing's own centroid line up with the resultant unless you have told it a side has restricted, in which case it fixes that side and extends the other side to compensate. This is the exact combined footing logic engineers have used for decades. Just done instantly and correctly every time you change the number. Now below that, the bearing pressure check, average pressure, and if there is any leftover eccentricity, the maximum and minimum corner pressures. Check against your safe bearing capacity plus an uplift check to make sure no corner is trying to lift off the ground. Then the rigidity check. See, this tells you whether your raft is stiff enough that treating the pressure as uniform or linear is even a valid assumption in the first place, because if the raft is too flexible relative to the column spacing, you actually need a completely different design method. And finally, punching shear column by column. Everyone correctly classified as interior, edge or corner, each using the correct critical parameter, each pulling its net upward pressure straight from the geometry engine above it. And at the bottom, 2 things: a true to scale plan and elevation that updates live as you change any input, and a simplified, always readable typical sketch with every dimension, spacing, edge distance, column size, footing size written right there as a text pulled straight from your shells. Change the trial depth at the top and watch that what happens. See, every single number, geometry, pressure, shear, the sketches just updated, and that's the entire point. Now, I know some of you are thinking, fine, but I want to actually understand the numbers and not just trust a spreadsheet. Good. That's exactly the right instinct, and that's why I included a full worked out example inside a toolkit written out step by step with formula, substitution, calculation with final answers as per IS 456 clause next to every check, so you can trace every single number back to the code. So let's understand this. It's the exact scenario I opened this video with. Two columns, unequal loads, a property line pinning one-sided to fix 100 millimeters. Now the load resultant sits 3 meters from the lighter column because the property line wouldn't let us extend the left side. We extend the right side instead all the way out to 2.1 meters until the footing center of gravity lines up exactly with the resultant. 2 meters average pressure comes out under the safe bearing capacity. No eccentricity left over. We solved it away. And the governing column checks out safe in punching shear at 74% of its capacity. See, every number in that worked out example matches the live sheet cell for cell. So if you ever want to check your understanding or check my formulas, that worked out example is your answer key. And here is why I want you to actually sit with this concept, not just download a sheet and move on. See, if you are a student, this is the exact reasoning an interviewer will expect from you the moment they ask, how would you design a combined footing? Most candidates jump straight to punching shear. The one who mentioned the load resultant and eccentricity first, those are the one who sounds like they have actually designed something, not just memorize the checklist. So if you are already practicing, this is the check that silently prevents callbacks. A raft that looks fine on a punching shear check but was never properly sized against the load resultant is a raft that might be settling unevenly or worse right now somewhere without anyone noticing. See, understanding why the geometry comes first is what separates someone who runs a formula from someone who actually understands foundation behavior. Now, this toolkit covers all 5 layouts, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 9 columns, the full geometry engine, the bearing capacity and uplift check, the rigidity check, punching shear column by column, live sketches and that complete work example we just walked through. Now, if you are a student, this is a way to actually see the code come alive in numbers instead of just reading clauses in textbooks. See, if you are practicing, this is hours of manual calculation and cross-checking done correctly every time in seconds. Link is in the description below. Grab it, open it side by side with this video and go through that worked out example by yourself. I promise it will make clause 31.6 click in a way it never did in a classroom. If this helped you understand Raft Foundation a little better, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Always remember, don't just learn software, learn concepts. Thank you.